people can file in because it'll be recorded.
Mm-hmm. And for today, because I did have a slight spoiler last time, um, I'm just gonna have the ye old behemoth as the picture background.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can switch the Google thing to the main RIFTS page. The intro page. There we go. I'll delete that. Okay.
Yep, and let's see if we can not go into spoiler territory this time, Squee. God.
Yeah,
whatever.
good job.
Last week I
Whatever.
was a little confused because I jumped in at the end. I had no idea where we were. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you have talking points. I should pull those up. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, the talking points will be handy. Okay. So, I'm going to tweet this out. Looks like we're streaming live. And pop open Mr. Chat. And we'll be good to go. So for those of you... actually, no, I won't do my little introduction thing just yet. Since when I edit it, I always wait for the pause, which is really friggin' handy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the YouTube editing the video using the YouTube clip thing is not super sophisticated.
It's so
God,
imprecise.
It's extremely imprecise.
I would rather throw up than use it. It's
See, I would see. The thing is that it's either use that or download the entire thing and then edit it on in, like, say, Sony Vegas and then re-upload it. And I'm like, you know what? The amount of time for me to do that, I can fiddle around with this taskbar. You know, it's a
that
time
makes
investment
sense.
for me.
That does make sense. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair point. I have to if I've streamed something and I just want to release the stream. A lot of times I'll be like, they're just getting the whole stream. I'm not dealing with all the mess of downloading and re-uploading.
Cool, but you guys ready to start?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. Piffy?
Yes.
Great. So, wait a second. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Catch Up podcast. Bern, I just noticed that you changed the actual title of this, too. We're going to be covering episodes 74 to 95. So pretty much the entire time, the party spends their time in Innis Vale and in the area. And I'm joined right now with Bern and Piff and Squee. And Krana should come by a little bit later. So, let's get into it. You guys joined up with the Endless Storytellers, and after having an encounter on the road with that little salesman fellow, I have my old notes up here. You guys entered the town of Innis Vale, and it's a nice little quaint little town. It's kind of more of a small village, so a very small venue off the get-go. And if I remember correctly, you guys, of course, were in the Behemoth, and you were, setting things up for, the next day's events, getting things set up, when over the evening, a body was fished out of the river. Do you guys recall this?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, this is a small kind of background on this. Is that the session before this was a very slow session. Half of it was just talking about buying stuff, and the other half was just traveling to Innis Vale and that salesperson, right? In my opinion, it was really, really dry. There wasn't a lot of pep to it. And this series of sessions, I just went from 0 to 60. I'm like, okay, you want intrigue? Here you go. So the first thing is of course, the body's brought up. It's mutilated. It's missing one eye. It has scratching on the chest that says Morgan Dower remembers. And this thing's horribly mutilated and later is identified to be a fellow named Kyle, one of the individuals, along with Alicia, that were pulled out of the witchling's cave not too long back. remember Al doing an autopsy on that to determine kind of everything that was going on. And he found out that the poor guy was tortured beforehand, which is not a really good way to go. And he was drunk when he went into the drink, so to speak, the river, so to speak. Do you guys want to pick up or add anything at this point?
I remember the confusion of who did it. The I forget the name, but the so and so remembers.
Morgendower, yeah.
Morgendower. We were like, I don't know Morgendower. Do you know? No, I don't know Morgendower. Maybe it's someone from his past, but I don't know. Yeah, like I remember a lot of confusion there.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. But you guys did eventually definitely piece it together, though, with the missing eye and the fact it was Josh that was dead, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Pretty
it took
darn
a while.
sure you guys.
It
It took you a little bit, but yeah. But yeah, you guys figured it out, or assumed at the very least it was the witchling in which Al shot in the eye and swore revenge on the party. So distressed by this, I recall Alicia, especially Alicia, was distressed by this. She was having like some nightmares in regards to it as well. She approached the group and she said, this witchling is a huge threat. We need to track her down and kill her. And I think it's best if we have a Psy stalker. I've heard that there's this guy that's stopping in town. He's a Psy stalker. Maybe we can talk with him. Maybe we can hire him to track down this witchling so we can end her once and for all. And that's when we meet a fellow named Christopher Bell, but he's also known as the Void.
The Void.
The Void. The Void was one of my personal favorite NPCs. We're going to meet another one in this podcast discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But the Void was a Psy stalker, so he had absolutely no hair, and he was, as Kriana would put it, creepy as fuck. He always spoke in very soft whispers, and he was very calm and very creepy, and he stared at people a lot, and particularly Tom and Mila a lot. But he did agree to your proposition of hunting down this witchling. Anything you guys want to throw in here? Or pick up where I'm leaving things on, because I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking right now, and it's a group podcast, not just a me podcast.
I remember it took all of like one session for people to ship Patrick and Void together.
Yeah. It was
not
really
real.
weird.
Yeah.
Some of the
it was
shipping actually
I think
came
it was
from in
because
the
it was
group.
one of the first times that Patrick showed his curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was kind of one of those where he just started asking the Void all these questions in typical what now seems like typical Patrick nature, but and it was really odd for the party too. Patrick's just like, so what's this? How do you do that?
Why don't you need to eat?
Yeah. I do remember the Void because he's one of the NPCs. There's a list, a small list, but one of the NPCs that there wasn't around for too long, but all of us remember.
Yeah, because he made such a good impression on wanting to. Should I continue or?
Well, we're gonna get into it very soon here.
But he was a very particular NPC. Plot aside, he just was a very particular NPC and very memorable.
Definitely very memorable.
I like the Cosmic Whip more. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll get to the Cosmic Whip in a moment. That Cosmic Whip is another really an NPC that's dear to my fucking heart. But we're talking about the Void, a different kind of creepy fellow. And so you agreed, and you guys headed off. He convinced you not to wear your power armor because he said it was clunky and loud, and that was best to ambush this creature, this witchling, this supernatural predator, in which you did relent after a small time, and you went on foot. and he had you travel for a good day or so. Because I remember you camped out to rest or for the evening, and that's when Patrick really started to dig in with these questions. And I like to say that I like to think, at least, that a lot of this apparent shipping was really just very tongue in cheek. I don't think anyone was expecting any sort of romantic connection because there certainly wasn't there in the game.
No.
It was more of just a joke. Is there anything you want to throw in there, Piff, since you did a big amount of interaction with the Void?
So yeah, this was one of the first times Patrick was actually no, this is I think exactly the second time that he was infatuated with a person because of just what they were.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was with the person that tried to steal Al's arm, I believe.
Oh yes, okay. The Cyber Snatcher.
Yes, and another interesting person, because I believe, if I remember correctly, my character actually did know that they didn't need to eat, but the curiosity of this person was he still ate things, or at least chewed on things.
Yeah. He chose to eat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which was just one of the most interesting things Patrick could even fathom. So he constantly followed him around, asked him questions about his lifestyle and all that other stuff.
Which did actually foreshadow a lot of things, too.
He asked him about, like, I think, like, different eating habits and all that other stuff. Though, definitely, like, if I was almost any other character, I would have probably also been with the rest of the party that was all like, I don't know about this. But Patrick was just like, no, freaking, this is great. Are you kidding me? So I remember him fondly, mainly because he really was a very intricate character.
He is very fun to roleplay. So, Byrne, since you were getting really eager to get to this point, why don't you take off? Why don't you pick up with what happened with the Void?
Dude wanted to eat us.
And not just him.
No. Him and his friends. I can't remember specifically.
There's Symbian monster riders. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They took lessons from Hannibal Lecter. And they really, really wanted to get to know us in the worst possible way through their stomachs.
Yeah, so they set up a little ambush in which you guys foiled and fought off. And I recall the Void not being instantaneous. You killed all the Symbians, and the Void was defeated but not immediately killed. I remember there was a big... I remember Alicia being extremely emotional because she's been tormented by this witchling for months and months and months, right? And this guy was supposed to help find her, and he led her off into a completely different direction to kill and eat you guys, right? So,
yeah.
If I remember correct, I remember Mila had a big part to do with this as well. I remember Mila beating the shit out of the Void.
Yeah, so here's what I remember. I remember it was the first time Patrick started to feel uncomfortable with the way the party was acting because while there were different motivations driving everyone, I think Alicia had the motivations you said. Mila was probably just really pissed and angry. I know Al was killing the... he killed one or two. Basically, he went to one or two of the riders, asked them a question, and then when they didn't answer, he slit their throats. His motivation, his motivation was much more calculated in the sense of we can't capture them, we can't ensure that they're not going to be a threat in 5 seconds. So I'm going to take the safest and most efficient route, which is to put them down. But basically, the entire group was in a very violent,
dark place.
Yes, and Patrick was not taking it well.
No.
No. no.
That was definitely one of the things I remember most. It was the brutal beatdown of some of the characters, very graphic, as well as just people who have given up getting slaughtered one by one. I think there was even a point where like people were burned alive.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, you guys started a fire to burn the bodies, and I remember you putting some live bodies on that fire, or people
Yep.
still dying on that fire. Yeah. Yep. So the party did not take being ambushed very well, right? And it got a little dark, got a little bleak.
We were kind of mad.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, when the creepy fucking side stalker is like, "Yeah, I'll help you," and then he tries to eat you and brings you over to his friends. I mean, and he could have killed. They could have all killed you guys very, very well, not very easily. You know, I mean, you guys fought back very well, but it was possible.
That is one thing I would like to point out, though, is that it was slightly different in the sense is that Al wasn't angry. He was just as violent per se, but it was for very different reasons than the rest of the group. So different type of darkness.
But in the end, I believe it was Alicia who ended up blowing the Void's head off with her energy rifle. And you guys headed back towards Innis Vale to regroup and figure out what the hell to do next. When you got back to Innis Vale, I remember Mila taking some time to herself, concentrating, and she was using her clairvoyance ability that she had due to her character class. And she got an image of like a sense of the witchling and a cabin in the woods deep in the forest, and she sensed a direction that was south from Innis Vale, right? It wasn't very specific, but it was something. It was a hint that really... Actually, no, she got that vision soon after the Void died, before you guys actually headed back to Innis Vale. That's right. She actually, during that moment, that darker moment of bleakness going on, she took a moment to kind of take some control and figure out what to do next, because everyone was really very much at a loss. But you guys do decide to go back to Innis Vale to regroup and rearm and to get better armor, because you're really got in your Patrick's ATV and the power armor, Mila's power armor. You guys are gonna find this witchling bitch and go guns blazing, right? Am I good to continue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep going,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Sorry. When you get back to Innis Vale, obviously the Endless Storytellers are very shaken up. They're taking this whole... one of their members died very seriously, and another recent arrival to Innis Vale was a mercenary group called Sorkin's Pride that was using Innis Vale as a watering hole, a pit stop. And for the time that the Endless Storytellers are going to spend entertaining the folks of Innis Vale, they've made an agreement with Sorkin's Pride. And since the Endless Storytellers, Zoe, the head manager, got to know you guys a little bit and knew that you had some sort of investment with the Witchling, because I remember you talked to her being like, "Oh, this might be because of us." She introduced you to the commanding officer and the XO, the executive officer of that is the term, right? Executive officer?
Yes, exactly.
Military? Okay.
Yeah.
Executive officer of Sorkin's Pride, right? To kind of get together and figure out, what to do as far as security goes. And the executive officer turns out to be a fellow. He introduces himself as Owen Van, but Al recognizes him as... I'll throw it to Squee.
Yeah, he recognized him as Nathan Heathcote. I'm trying to remember. Did I see him first, or did he contact me on the radio first?
No, he didn't contact you on the radio. He didn't even know you were there until you had your face-to-face meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I recognized him as Nathan Heathcote, which was a man who was trained at the same academy Al was, and they I don't know if they ever went on missions together, but they certainly worked in the same areas.
They were, if I remember the background correctly, and I have it here, so hopefully I do. They trained together. They were kind of not so friendly rivals when it came to their espionage training, and you weren't too sure at the time what the deal with Nathan was. This Owen Van, right? Whether he also defected or if he still was undercover, right? But he did leave a message with you guys after the meeting to meet with him in nearby farmer's field for a bit of a chat. And I recall him saying that everyone but he wanted to, I believe he just wanted an individual chat with he wanted to chat with everyone except for Tom. He did not want Tom to be around.
That is correct.
Yeah. I remember that because Tom was too hot to deal with.
Yeah, he didn't want to have a meeting without a whole lot of protection and a guy who could set someone on fire like that, right? So you guys, you're in the midst of this witchling problem, and all of a sudden a shadow from Al's past shows up. So you do agree to the meeting, and Nathan pretty much, just to kind of speed things along as far as the podcast goes, Nathan, the smarmy little bastard, he was being real, like he was very full of himself that he caught you, he found you. And because, Al went rogue quite some time back, right? And he knew, because he was a member of the coalition military, he knew exactly who Tom was, right? He knew Tom's past. And so he decided to use that to his advantage. He had an ultimatum. He wanted to be Al's handler, for lack of a better word. He wanted the group to do him some small favors in the past, not to kill anybody, not any wet work, but he wanted, if they got into a town and they met some people, they would feed Nathan intel. They would kind of be acting spies for a spy, right? He would be calling in favors. And in exchange for that, Nathan could promise that the coalition would stay off of Al and Tom's back. He'd keep the secret, exchange a favor for a favor, right? Point the weapon that is Tom in another direction instead of towards the coalition, right? And what did you guys say to that offer?
Well, first off, that's not how it came out. It came out a lot more pedantic because it was Nathan. And
yes.
Well, yeah,
second,
I can't recall. I mean, you'd have to listen to the episode to get the exact thing, right? I can't recreate it right now.
Well, it would just be worth noting that this was what he offered, but he offered it in a very Nathan way of, I have all the cards and I really don't think.
Yes, I do remember.
I remember specifically
doing this as a coalition death squad. So
yes.
yeah.
And also him saying he wanted a leash on Tom.
Maybe. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I just remember, it is true. He did give a lot more stick than carrot. Carrot.
But I believe we said we were disinclined to acquiesce his request. Not so
Which is a fancy way of saying no.
Yeah.
And he said it was a big mistake, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He was not happy about that. But you guys had bigger fish to fry. And he decided you would deal with the whole Nathan situation once this fucking witchling Morgendower was dealt with. So we can move on to that if you guys like.
Sure.
Okay. So sure enough, you guys buckle up, and this entire time, you guys are scheming of like, how are we going to get one over on Nathan? You didn't give him a committed answer just yet. I remember you did not tell him yes or no.
Oh yeah, no. To his face, I believe Al gave him a "let me think about it" or "I'll get back to you,"
or a yes for now. But in his mind and in the group's mind, he was like, "We're not doing what this fucking coalition toady wants." So, but you guys all agreed that you had to deal with this friggin' witchling ASAP. So, sure enough, you venture down south and manage to follow some tracks and come across a little secret cabin. And you guys kind of see this in the distance. And I remember you guys coming up with this whole plan of um, of ramming like just a surprise attack, right? Mila was going to come in through the roof in her power armor, and you guys were going to slam in through the wall with the ATV, right? Do like a surprise shock and all attack on this cabin.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's a little goat out front. It was very quiet, maybe suspicious to you guys, who knows. But I remember when Mila burst through the ceiling, there was a very surprised old man sitting in his chair.
Yeah, which caused us to stop.
Which caused you guys to metagame. I remember being really pissed off at that. But what can you do? Mistakes happen.
Wait, but okay. I don't remember. Obviously, we did metagame. What did we do?
Oh, it is very easy. You guys were we started the scene with you guys just revving towards the cabin, ready to bash it down. Mila goes down, sees the old person. She doesn't communicate on the radio because Mila's Mila. She's just like, "Oh, hey there, how's it going?" Right? And then when I give it back to you guys for your control, and I say, and you burst through there, you're like, "Oh no, we don't do that. We stop the vehicle." And I'm like,
"Oh wow."
Yeah, it was really bad.
But I just new to this back then.
Yeah, it's fine.
I can't. I would cringe at something like that now, but it did take us a while to get kind of.
Yeah. Of course, we're all very new to the game, so it's no big deal. But yes. I didn't mean to make this podcast be like, look at my stupid metagaming players, because I made all sorts of fucking mistakes too. But suffice to say, You took a little bit more a calmer approach, but you were still very, very suspicious of this. And while Mila was talking to this old man, I remember Tom and Patrick poked around outside, and Al started looking through rooms inside, much to this old man's displeasure. And in a back room, Al comes across these little funny, like not funny, but these little terrifying little insect demons and like all this blood everywhere. And I was like, oh shit, it's her. And then a fight happens. The goat turns into this fucking demon who gets his ass.
Oh my god, the goat demon.
Do you remember that? Yeah, the goat turns into like this puck, which is a type of fairy evil fairy that shows up. And I remember Patrick in the back of the ATV just railing on it with his fucking rail gun.
And then I think he got run over. I remember he had like the worst.
Yeah, he turned invisible, and Patrick ran him over, and all you heard was just a and a thunk. It was crazy. It was that entire session. The rest of that session was just a huge fight, because not only did you defeat the little fucking bug demons and the puck, the bug demons got squished. The puck ran away, and Morgendower just would not die, because she there was at a point where she knew she was losing, so she kept trying to escape from you guys, but creating fog and going invisible. But you guys just kind of herded her and used your tech and abilities.
Oh, a lot of us. Hold on. There was something that I fucked up with in this actual combat that I want to highlight. A lot of us had thermal imaging, which she would go invisible. Yeah, thermal imaging. We can still see her. This was the first time I used my flame burst psionic power. So when everybody with thermal imaging is looking at Morgendower, and I set her on fire in a 40-foot by 40-foot cube, everybody went, oh god!
That's right, they couldn't see her anymore. So things were very prolonged, almost too prolonged at one point.
A bit.
Near the end, she used a little too much of her magic points, her PPE, to put a permanent curse on Al, which he resisted. And I don't think you ever found out that that's what she was trying to do.
No, I think you told us later, because you were reminiscing on the the justice or irony, whatever you want to call it, that one of the main reasons she couldn't escape us is because she expended too much on a curse that failed. Like revenge was her undoing.
Yes. Yeah, good memory, Squee. That's absolutely right.
I remember some things.
Yeah, and I remember also Mila. The really thing that managed to caught is that Mila kept body slamming her.
Yeah.
She kept body slamming her with her power armor. It was amazing.
I remember Mila doing fantastic in that particular fight.
Yeah.
Like each time the witchling moved, she'd basically just boost leap on top of her and hit her again, and she'd try to get away, and then happen again over and over again.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not quite sure about you guys, but like after like fending off that one demon, I learned very quickly two things. One, Patrick doesn't move very fast.
That's right. Poor slow Patrick. And
he was just like, all right, your turn. I stumble around in the fog. Your turn. That was like, that had to have been like 2 melee rounds of my character doing that.
Yeah. It was very in character. For whatever my little kibosh, my little hand slap about you guys metagaming before you got into that fight, during the fight you guys actually didn't metagame at all, which was amazeballs. So, and eventually Morgan Dower died. You blew the fuck out of her.
Not us. It is important to note, Alicia did it.
Oh, that's right. Wow, I forgot about that. Bad Inferno. You're right. Alicia got the death blow. Because I think Mila held her down, didn't she?
It was something like that. It was. I don't remember if she requested it or if we as a group thought that she needed it.
I think you guys as a group decided that she needed it.
Yeah.
Because it was in the heat of battle, so yeah.
But yeah, she moitered her.
Yeah, she murdered the shit out of her. I think you just said don't shoot her in the face because you had an idea what to do with Morgan Dower's head.
Right.
But yeah, she blew her torso off. Morgan Dower died horribly at the hands of her once slave, for lack of a better word. So after Morgan Dower died, you guys, I'm going to now throw this entirely to you. Unless you guys, unlike last podcast when I said go ahead and explain it, I fucking did it anyway. I promise you, I will throw it to you because you guys deserve to explain all this from start to finish because this was all 100% your idea and it was amazing.
Inferno,
yeah.
I want you to take your hands.
No.
Get up and sit on them, okay?
No. I'm going to just mute myself.
Okay.
Mute myself.
So... this is one of the first times we learned that Al likes very convoluted plans.
Yes.
That I will, as a player, fully admit that sometimes he tries to make way too complex of plans when a simple plan would work. But
yes,
I will also say that when those plans work, they work really well.
Yes.
You said you were going to stay muted. Stop it.
Basically, Al talked to the group and we realized that we couldn't just tell Nathan no, because then he would hunt us down with the coalition. We didn't really think saying yes was an option either, because being having a leash on our necks from the coalition was something that not only did we not want, but was really just like a slow death sentence in our minds.
So we didn't really, we wanted to be able to do whatever the hell we wanted instead of being tied down. So yeah.
And so we realized that we had to find a third option, and the option was this. We pretended that Tom was killed by a coalition sniper while we were trying to kill the witch. That some coalition sniper had shot him in the face. And what we did is we took off his helmet and we shot a hole through the helmet so it looked like it'd been shot through. We had Tom burn himself on a pyre because it's Tom. And basically Al confronted Nathan very angrily and very publicly to kind of throw Nathan off balance of what the hell are you doing? Why did you just kill my friend? And of course, Nathan was like, what the hell are you talking about? And Al threw the helmet and said, it was a coalition sniper. I thought we had a deal. And somehow they decided they were going to meet in a field that night so that Nathan could figure out what the heck was going on.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I'm fine with you saying something.
Just to say yes, it was because you flustered him and because he didn't want to talk about him being a coalition spy in front of all of his fucking merc buddies, who might or might not have known, that he agreed to be like, okay, listen, we'll talk through this, but we're going to do it at my spot because I think it's safe, right?
Yeah.
I am done.
Also, I do want to state, I don't remember how, but I remember putting the helmet on a corpse and then shooting it.
Yes,
so
because
you want Morgendauer's blood. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No, that's what we did with her face. We put
Morgendauer's face. That's right.
Yeah, and we shot her face. So because makes sense now. Because I remember Alicia taking the shot, and I was wondering why, and it was because it was her freaking face.
Yeah.
So
we did that in order to get the gore in there and put it on Tom's head.
We were doing everything we could to make this as authentic as possible because Nathan Heathcote wasn't born yesterday. He was a trained spy. We were basically trying to beat him in his own game, and we were trying to be as careful as we could about it. So then comes one of the parts that I, as a player, regret probably more than any of my actions in the campaign so far. Which was the plan was to try and knock Nathan out with a needle that Al had in his arm. And Inferno had Nathan giving a speech, and he had literally asked, wait until the speech is done. I was so overzealous that I tried to attack him halfway through the speech. My bad. And
okay. I think it's hilarious now. At the time, I didn't, but I got over it very quickly.
So excited! I was like,
I know.
And I stab him.
That's why, like, if you ever listen to that, it's me like, oh, come on, man, I had this whole thing, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, literally 30 seconds later, I'm back to my, okay, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? So, yeah.
But we
didn't damage our friendship.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the first stab didn't work, but then I think either I or Mila, one of us, like, punched him in the balls, and then we knocked him out.
I remember Jackie.
Was it Jack? Okay. I remember. Someone's gonna have to fill me in here. I remember there was a point where he got knocked in the crotch. I might have been when he was trying.
That's later.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then yes. We used. Oh, that's right. We had buried Jackie in the field like a day before, for just this moment, and we had her come out and pineapple him. And then we knocked him out unconscious. We tied him up. We got a Winnebago from the Endless Storytellers.
Give me a second, because this needs explaining.
Yeah.
You just said something that was very, very iconic to our particular campaign. And if you just say that to a complete stranger, they will not understand what Jackie pineapple. Like, do you make it into it? Do you throw a pineapple?
Yeah, I guess we've never explained that before. Yeah.
So, I had a ring, a magic ring that I got all the way back when we first encountered the witchling. And one of my favorite things that I used for it was a flash. And the first few times I used it, and whatever other players actually used it, we would blind each other
by accident.
So we're just like, we need to make a system. We need like a word. Pineapple. Pineapple should be fine. If I yell out pineapple, that's when I'm going to do the flash thing. So that was our thing. And so what we did for Jackie was, at first, we had Jackie either dance or I think mock Squee's character. Because he blinded Mila at one point, and that was programmed into the squirrel. So whenever there was a pineapple thing, he would just turn to Al and like shake its little paw finger at him. And so we then programmed him to, when we say pineapple, it would boot up and flash its own little flash thing, blinding people who are around Jackie. So that's basically our safety word for flashbangs.
Right. and Jackie crawled out of the earth, which we had planted, hours and hours beforehand, and flashbanged him. So we tied him up, and I don't remember how much we told the endless storytellers, but we managed to get a Winnebago from them to keep him in. And then
we told the lady in charge everything.
That's right.
We told her fucking everything.
Yeah, you told Zoe everything, and she's like, "Oh my god,
oh my god, what are you doing? Fucking take the Winnebago and just get rid of this, okay?"
May I pause? Because wasn't there a thing about files before this?
No, after.
Not yet.
No, that's
Yeah,
later on. Oh yeah, so you didn't tell her everything. But you didn't want to buy a Winnebago. You told her everything about the witchling. You did not tell her everything about the coalition.
I believe we may have said actually, because I remember something about we may have told her that there was a coalition spy here and how I knew, but we didn't know what he was here for, and he might be here for the end of the storytellers because they are full of things that the coalition might not like.
Right.
So hey, give us a Winnebago and we'll make this go away.
Yeah, I remember her saying, "Just deal with it."
All right, continuing on. Go ahead, guys.
So we knocked him unconscious, and Al wasn't there. Al was doing something. I don't remember what, but Nathan was tied up in a room with Mila, Patrick, and I believe Tom, or it might have just been Mila and Patrick. I don't remember, but he woke up, and you guys are gonna have to kind of go over what happened after that because I wasn't there.
Oh fuck! It was me and Mila. I think we were carrying him, and he started waking up. So I think Mila punched him in the face, and I think I actually blinded him and Mila, and we basically tried to knock him back out.
Yeah. And I was sitting here muted, laughing my ass off.
Can I throw in one little thing here?
Yeah,
sure.
Well, to explain why Al wasn't there during that time, because the idea was because this is what happened. Alan and Nathan had a showdown in which Al tried to stick Nathan with the needle, and which didn't really work very well. They had a bit of fisticuffs. Jackie popped up, blinded him, then you were able to stick him. The thing is that Nathan had backup, and the second his backup started to arrive, Mila grabbed Nathan with her power armor, who was acting backup for you guys, and whisked him away. In the meantime, all of Nathan's buddies, his cronies, his mercenary buddies, follow coalition people you don't know, started to chase the fuck out of Al. He had to dive into a river to escape. So that's how the party got separated. Mila took Nathan to meet up with Tom and with Patrick, in which he later woke up from the inoculation. And Al had to take the long way to the rendezvous zone. And that's when he woke up. He said a few things. He said, you guys are being stupid. And you're like, shut up, Nathan, you're stupid. And then what Piff just explained happened. They tried to knock him out. And it's really hard to knock out a person who doesn't want to be knocked out. So they kind of beat him up a bunch again.
I remember Patrick saying, or Piff saying, or maybe you said this later, Piff, but you didn't think that Patrick and Mila were going to be able to subdue him, but someone rolled really well and knocked him out or countered him or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Was tying him up.
Yeah,
that might have been it.
Yeah, he was feisty.
But we put him back under. And then all of that was basically to lead up to this. We had Tom get naked, and we undressed Nathan as well, and we put him in bed together. And
Nathan was actually naked. Tom was naked from the waist up.
Right. We made it look as though he had no clothing on. Yeah. And we used Patrick's excellent photography skills.
Yeah.
To
took
take
some pictures.
Yeah. That made it look like Nathan was sleeping with one of the most wanted criminals in the coalition. And when he woke back up, Al and Tom, basically in no such terms, said, "Oh, hey, look at these cool files we have that we're keeping all the negatives of. How about we offer you a new deal? You leave us alone, and we won't let these get out."
And the reason why you guys didn't kill Nathan is because Nathan said no uncertain terms. If anything happens to me, my superiors know. My file I have on you guys will go to the superiors, and the coalition will hunt you down and kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So killing him, he made it very clear that just eliminating him was not going to solve your problem, which is why you guys chose to blackmail him to make sure he was quiet, which was very, very clever, I might say, and really pissed him off. So yeah, he got outfoxed by the group. And anything else you guys wanted to add in regards to Nathan? Because that's pretty much that wrapped up your time in Innis Vale. You guys did do a little bit of performing, but then soon enough, you guys headed down to New Laszlo, which is a whole other chapter. In fact, in between here and New Laszlo, there's a whole other adventure that kind of happens.
Yeah,
that still
Huge
is
adventure.
relevant. Actually, all this is still very relevant to this session, but to the modern sessions. But I think you guys want to add in to what we recap before we spend some time answering questions.
No, I think
we're good. Questions.
Okay. All right. So, folks in the chat, if you have any questions in regard to our characters, the characters or the GM, or anything that's happened in the adventure so far, so episodes 1 to 95, feel free to ask. We won't answer any questions about stuff that is going to happen in the future because that will spoil the other recaps.
Very true.
And now we play a game of waiting for the chat lag to stop and people to ask questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to take a look at our last video and see if anyone asked any questions in the comment section. For those of you who are waiting, you can play the Little Spanish Flea, which is our unofficial theme song. And you'll be good. No questions.
Also,
on the chat. Mm-hmm.
Also, for you guys, after we finish this podcast, I have something that I want to talk to you guys about.
Okie dokie.
About what
The
we were
chat
talking
or
about
just
beforehand.
us particularly.
Yeah, just
A little private. If you
Did they even know what a pineapple was when they came up with the term? I mean, pineapples aren't normally indigenous to the area.
That's a good question.
RIFTS.
So I would like to think Patrick is learned enough to know what exotic fruit would be. He does actually have a background in plants for the most part, in two different facets at least. So he may have picked up that kind of exotic. Patrick is kind of the knowledge dump of the party, so if it's like, would they really know this? Patrick might actually know it.
And it's a part of the balance of like what we know modern day and what people would know, in the RIFTS universe. Sometimes it is true. We take things for granted. A lot of times I have NPCs say things or use turns of phrases that probably wouldn't be used. But that's sometimes an anachronism that happens in between, real life and role-playing games. But that's a great explanation. Trippy's wondering if you guys missed any powerful artifacts in the campaign so far, and I can say no. When you guys defeated the witchling the first time around and examined her cave, you picked up everything that was there. There was nothing hidden away. You got some magical goodies. And then when you defeated her the second time, when you actually killed her, you guys did get the bracers of the moon and stars, which
Those are pretty good.
which is an item that you guys still have in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It's a handy little protective item, which is really, really nice. You got
Also, really quickly, I would like to say hello, Kriana. Thank you for joining us.
Hi,
Kriana.
Hello.
We're just wrapping up the podcast, just answering some questions. We talked about if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat while we catch up, Kriana. This session had to do with the witchling and Innis Vale and when Nathan showed up.
Oh shit! What?
So Vila was a super badass in this podcast, so we kept her praises. Yeah, you were awesome. You're friggin' awesome. Do you have any thoughts or anything you want to say in regards to Nathan or the Witchling or the Void? We talked about the Void a lot too.
Did you talk about the Void's OTP?
Yeah. Whenever you say the Void, it's always impaired with Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Okay, that's really the only thing I would say that's worthy of note. No. The Nathan and the Witchling, both super awesome villains. Both are like one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Luca wants to say that from someone from the South, he wants to give you props that your Southern accent isn't too horrible.
Thanks.
Backhanded compliment.
You know, I really think I get into character. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm about as far north in America as you could be.
Without being in
So,
Canada. Yeah.
without
Yeah,
being
but-
in Canada.
I will second that. I mean, I live in Texas, and if I were to go to one of the smaller towns like Sweetwater and stuff, I would hear people that sound like that. So,
Well, thank you, Squeak. I appreciate it.
yeah, maybe if they're drunk, they sound that bad, but but no, it's not bad at all.
Did the players surprise the DM? The players always surprise me. Pretty much, if it's not every session, it's every other session.
Yeah.
But it depends on the surprises. Like from the very first session, I always expected when you guys did a showdown with those bandits, you guys would be like, no, we're not going anywhere, right? I didn't plan on you guys passing one of your own party members as a prostitute or
Yeah.
suffocating them and murdering them while they get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Did not expect that. And then the other thing I did not expect, I remember, it was really, really great, is that you guys planned the whole Nathan blackmail thing without me knowing.
Yeah. We didn't
Did
tell.
we?
Well, no, well, the details you didn't let me know.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
trying to remember
there is-
if
I
you
have no
guys
memory.
completely surprised me with the blackmail or not.
There is one
No,
bit.
I'm pretty sure I remember being on the Skype call when you guys mentioned that was an option.
Yeah, I think the ones we
Yeah.
kept in the dark was the viewers.
Oh, that's
Oh.
exactly what it was. It was the viewers we kept in the dark. Yeah.
Just a quick note on the side. If you are playing on, like, with your GM and you want to do something like, oh, I got a great plan and it's going to be fantastic, but I don't want to tell the GM, there's either two ways of doing it.
Warn them.
Hmm?
Sorry. I'm just like, warn them. It's so mean not to. I mean,
Yeah,
it depends how big it is.
It's
Mhm.
it's one of those things where, like, this is a group playing game. You really should give the DM a heads up, or GM, or whatever you like to call it,
Yeah.
because then
Good
they
point.
can actually plan for what the outcome is, instead of, like, sitting there and being completely surprised, sidelined, or maybe even going so far as to railroad it back to what they actually know what will happen.
That is true.
Or you can go through a second option, which is extremely devious, but at least it's fair on both hands, is to basically make like a little side note, like document, or like, I'm going to hand this to you, do not open, sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, the old envelope trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are the things that are completely like within my use of all this other stuff.
Yeah. But it is true. You guys did give me a heads up on that because it also really helps with fleshing out the scene because if I knew what was going to happen if it was successful, which it wasn't perfect, obviously. The kidnapping and the blackmailing of Nathan did not go seamlessly, but it was successful. But also gave me think about, like, during the week, it made me think, like, what Nathan would think and react to all this, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it is really good to kind of warn your DM, because it's all about trust, right? You trust your players not to metagame, and you trust your GM to not railroad the players and make their choices not matter, right? Or sabotage them from what they really want to do.
I will also say that sometimes just getting spontaneous plans and sticking it out there is completely fine too, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. It's best kind of just not to overthink things, I guess, right?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I like Kriana said it on the head. I think it depends on how big it is. I think it also depends on when. Like, for example, if you're in the middle of a session and the GM gets up and goes and gets a drink or something, and then you spring something on them, like, I don't know, let's go kill a king or something like that. I mean, that could be fun. That could be.
Yeah, it sounds like you're speaking
from like some sort of experience.
Yeah.
I don't.
Specific example.
Yeah,
I just kind of pulled that out of the air. I don't know.
I think we met one king in this campaign, Squeak.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying,
And we
hypothetically.
did kill him.
Actually, it was a prince,
Prince,
too.
yeah.
He wasn't even a king.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, Squeak, get your
hypothetically.
facts right, okay?
I wasn't talking about a real king.
What about
No,
emperors?
this is a game, so I suppose none of them are real.
Can we kill some emperors?
But yeah, but definitely if it's a big plan, like all of a sudden we want to go to this city. I mean, it's just good to let the GM know.
Yeah, so you can make sure the city's ready for you.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree. It does take some trust. You have to be able to play with each other because there are some GMs out there that sometimes actively try to go against the players and vice versa. And
Those are the worst.
yeah, they are. And then there's times too, and sometimes it can be really hard as a GM. I know when early on when I was GM, I had to very constantly tell myself, no, don't do this because you're doing it just so this happens, and that's not what the players want, kind of thing. So it can be hard for a GM not to sometimes.
Oh, yeah. It's very tempting.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many temptations as GMs.
I do have one
Yeah.
note about that.
We can wrap up the they're
Can you
not
guys hear me at
questions,
all?
but there are several comments that I thought would be nice to kind of highlight here. So IHTFP01, oh my god. Your username, dude. I love you, but your username
Right off the
murders
point.
me.
I have been trying to talk for the past 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh,
Just wanted to say that.
Go nuts.
There is one point that I want to make beforehand that was a complete surprise to you and caught you off guard.
Oh, okay.
Because up until that point, we hadn't really solidly made Tom's backstory. You remember back a couple of sessions before this, a couple of catch-up sessions, where we talked about Tom being wanted. I went into that with the idea. I didn't give you any warning about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But we did know it was a big, disastrous thing that happened in the past, right? Something that would require, something that makes sense why he would be so wanted, right? But you're right. Yeah, I guess that's a really fun thing, too, is that players don't need to have a 100% perfect character off the get-go, right? Things develop and get more solidified as the session goes on. So yeah, I'm still constantly surprised. You guys still have and still will throw up more stuff about your character's background that I'm gonna think is just delightful. And be like, I can't wait to put it in the world. And fuck you with it. Not literally.
fuck
but
you
figuratively.
over.
Gotta
But,
erase this
figured-
dildo.
Oh my God, Tiff. Oh, we were so close without having this podcast be a gross one, but oh well.
Get it.
Is it okay if I end with a couple user comments because I think they're funny and or really nice. So good old IHT said that this arc, the Innis Vale arc, had some of the best and worst decisions of the campaign to date. It was not boring. And Zalabrator said that the entire Innis Vale arc was his favorite in the series. Second being what happens in New Laszlo. So I have to say, I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, but it was when I was just like, I gotta ramp this up. I gotta raise the stakes now. And I raised 2 stakes very quickly, so it was exciting. It was not
I
boring.
love steak.
Steak. Oh, okay. Well, we'll ask one more question if that's okay by you, because there's
Go
another
for it.
So Squee already opined his, but yeah, this is a great end question. So for the rest of the characters, or Squee if you want to continue on, what event would you all regret the most from this period that your characters did? So from the beginning of the session to Innis Vale, Is there something that what's the thing that you regret the most that your characters did? If you
I
have
regret?
yeah.
I as the player or the character?
We're going to go with either.
I'm gonna go with player
Mhm.
because I think that's what Squee did.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. It was player because Squeeze like I shouldn't have interrupted Inferno, and it's okay. I forgive you. I love you. I heard that. Good. We're supposed to.
I don't like how breathy both of you are getting.
I know.
Guys, let Piff talk, please.
No. Fuck
No,
you.
no, you go ahead. I'm still actually trying to like.
Oh,
Yeah, Piff was just
mine
still
was
thinking.
really easy.
What's yours, Vern?
The first time I ever used Flame Burst, which is the most powerful, most damaging ability for a burster, while everybody is wearing thermal goggles and blinding everybody. Yeah, I regret that.
I wish I could remember things.
Okay. Okay.
Let's just say that Mila and Kriana regrets nothing.
Yeah, I guess, like, I don't know. Everything happens for a reason. I guess Mila and I believe in that sentiment. Like, you know, I can't really think of any moment in this, I mean, just as a whole that I was like, shit.
Poop. Okay.
I have to say that I kind of like mistakes personally.
Yeah.
So if I feel like I've actually done something wrong, I like to embrace it, mainly because I think it really enriches it. Like if everything was perfect, that's boring. Yeah.
Wow.
It's true. We might be a lot of things, folks, but we are not perfect.
It's
Neither
a lot.
Except for me. Speak for yourself, Inferno.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion, cobbling up a victory over somebody is a lot better than just having a flat out, like, there's no way for them to win and I win from my big win gun.
It's like putting in cheat codes in a video game. All right, folks. Well, we'll wrap up the podcast here. We're going to take a few minutes for a break before we start up our session. So if you're watching live right now, we will see you soon.
Yeah,
And
in
if you're
about
watching
10 minutes.
on YouTube, 10-ish minutes.
Woohoo! I am
Okay.
watching live.
Oh my goodness, me too!
Bye.